let's just dive right into it. How did you first get into composing?
It happened 11 years ago. Before that, I was a piano player. I played jazz in restaurants and in some presentations and so on. And also, I was making arrangements for the singers, for the theaters, which was the most interesting. But once I found the advertisement agency, or maybe they have found me, or we found each other by the internet, and they said about their project. The project was they wanted to make 10 hours of the children music, children and Christmas or New Year music. It's one package. There was only 3 or 4 months for the project, so you can see the situation was extreme. And I was so frightened that I said, yes, of course, I will do it. And I did it up to November as they wanted. And they liked the result, and so I thought that, and they thought that we shall go on our cooperations, and that was the first serious project, big and serious and professional. After which there began some other projects with other clients, with other partners. But I think that anyway, there must be some kind of stimulation, or how to call this properly, that if there is some inner intention to compose music, the musician maybe can't even know about it for many years. And then something provokes him. But the first, it was 10 years of the children music at the extremely short time. And what the most pretty thing for me that we are still in the partnership, and I make an hour of the children music a month. If I'm not mistaken, there are something about 3,000 children pieces were composed in these 11 years.
So you're doing kind of the children's music. Are you also doing film music too? Is that something that you want to explore next, or are you doing that now?
I was making the music not for the films, not for the films as motion pictures, big cinema. I was making the music soundtracks for the promo video, for advertisement, for presentations, and so on. And also there is a music which I even don't know for what I was doing it, because there was just the goal, which the client said that compose the music in such a style.
Okay.
And I don't know where it be used. Complete freedom for the creative. Because we don't discuss every little moment, every second, and so I know only that the style must be this or this or this.
So, like for trailers and promo videos, you're saying this is what you're doing for the films that eventually get released. Is that kind of the type of work that you're doing as it relates to the space?
Not for the trailers.
Okay, just promo video.
Yes, mostly promo, or maybe some short plot about something in the life.
So I'd love to learn about your composing process. How do you go about composing music when it seems like in that particular scenario you have such creative freedom? Do you have a common process that you always follow, either for the promo video music that you're composing, or like the children's music and the 2,000 to 3,000 songs there? I'd love to learn about your composing process in general.
In general, it happens in such a way. So, as I mentioned already, the children music is already have some there is such a big amount of the children music that I even don't think about how to do this detail or this detail. So I know the style in general. I know which instruments will be suitable, which instruments will not be suitable. Maybe some kind of rhythm, maybe even not the style, better to say the mood. Also the mood in general. So it must be something a little bit childish, maybe a little bit foolish, if it is can be said. And there are, of course, there are many patterns which I use. Patterns, I mean, not the samples. I don't use samples, but some methods of the composing or methods of arrangement, which I use already when I know that it will be on the right place. For example, some children instruments for children flute, children vibraphone, children bells, and so on. And this is what about the children music. And when the style is unknown for me, I find something on YouTube or somewhere else, something from this style, and then make a little pause, just all this new information to transform in my head. And so it could be individual anyway, not just the plagiate. Always interesting to work in some unknown style. For example, the last project, literally 2 or 3 months ago, was I had to write the playlist of the tango. I never composed tango, and I never knew. Well, I knew what is it, but I never worked in this genre. But the client was satisfied.
Okay, yeah. That's really interesting. And so do you mainly compose in the box, like in the software? And then I'm just trying to think of like maybe tactically speaking, your workflow. Like what DAW do you use? I'm just curious.
Cubase.
Cubase, okay. So you obviously score a lot of children's music. You've the amount of tracks or the amount of compositions is a lot, at least in my opinion. Do you generally know how many pieces of music you write in a year? It probably ranges a lot, but is there like a ballpark estimate of how many pieces of music you write in a given year?
In a given year, considering that it's still lasting, and only half a year, approximately, if there was 20 tracks a month, then we multiply and we get, if I'm not mistaken, 120 tracks half a year.
Wow. That's a lot. That's very impressive. In kind of shifting gears, you compose for music libraries. Is that still the case? Do you still do that on a regular basis?
Yes, but it began a little later than the advertisement agency. My first custom from the library was, if I'm not mistaken, in 2016. There was the custom for the piano music, not children, a little bit. There was needed a little bit, maybe even sad, not meditative, but sad lyrical piano music.
What do you think, in your own words, makes you unique or makes your sound unique compared to other musicians and composers out there, if anything at all?
That's a good question, but how can I say I'm unique because and so on? I began my partnership with my first clients for whom I write the children music. They repeated a few times. I think that they had some hidden goal to say something pleasant for me and to pay a little less. For example, I know that at one of the chats in Facebook, I wrote, well, it was kind of joke. There is such a phrase which is used by some clients addressing to the composers. Listen, guy, you are so gifted, so talented. Why do you need money? And everybody reacted with such humor. I think that somebody else can say what is unique, because I heard it. If not to be modest, why to be modest? Music people who told me that your style or your approach is unique. I began to ask why, and they say that this is obvious. We can't tell you why. And this is really such a question which is rather hard to answer in something concrete. Maybe I have the possibility to come from one style to another. So I can, even in such a way that in the morning I compose children music, and in the evening I compose something depressive music, for example, if it is needed.
That makes sense, and it is a hard question. I kind of throw it out to everybody I talk to just to hear their answers, and everybody's different. And thank you for sharing that. One of the questions that I always like to understand is, as a composer now, what are your top challenges that you face? I'd seen some of what you had posted regarding always being in the creative mindset or form.
And the lack of concentration of something at one project, not at 5 or 25. Because there is also a great wish to, there is such an expression, it's impossible to embrace the immensity. And I always try to embrace the immensity, but it's impossible. The great challenge to struggle with this strong wish to embrace it.
Right. That's a great quote. I think that will be front and center on this write-up that we do, the blog post. It's that really stood out to me.
That's why the system is necessary. I understand that for creative person, for any creative person,
right.
This is the challenge itself, to build a system of creative work, because today he is in a good mood, tomorrow he's in a bad mood, and so on and so on. But there must be some kind of discipline, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like once there's inspiration, you just kind of got to roll with it, right? Some days you're inspired, some days you're not.
Yes, inspiration. The main inspiration is my wife. She is sitting in the next room.
There you go. That's my inspiration. That's my inspiration too. My wife is upstairs. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Any advice you have to new composers starting out?
I could say, but I don't know. This advice will be a little bit maybe ironical. Don't listen to any advices. Really, because if to spread this thought, so many times I heard that you with your music will be no, and so on and so on. Those people who were telling me these advices, they mostly ended badly. I don't know why.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I could definitely see where you're coming from there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for taking the time to chat with me, and it was awesome learning about your background. Have a great day, and we'll talk later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.